right, Coach. You just started your opening statement. Wrapping up this past week, and what's the focuses on this road trip? These two games against Western and Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, first time in a while that we, finished a week off undefeated. We only had one game last week, and we took care of business on Saturday. So it felt good to come out of that week with a 1-0 record, and now we have 4 left, and two are on the road and 2 are away, and these next 2 we know how hard they are. I'm not sure, I haven't looked it up, but guessing that no one has probably swept this trip this year. Maybe, I guess, Liberty would be the only person that has. So just two tough places to play. Western is playing so well right now. Coach Plone has done a tremendous job. No one really knows how hard it is to play without your best player, and arguably one of the top 10 players in our conference for a month or so. And now that he's gotten him back, I think they've won 4 in a row, and they're playing really, really good. And then Middle is one of the teams that beat us early here in a hard-fought battle. They're a good team, and they're playing very well. And so it's just going to be a tough trip, just like the rest of them have been all year long. And then, of course, we come home and have 2 tough games left here as well.
Coach, just on a serious note, have you had the chance to talk to Bolden yet after just what happened after the game?
I haven't talked to him. Haven't talked to him at all about the situation or anything in general.
Just kind of building off of Western, obviously their headlines right now is beating Liberty, putting their streak to an end. Tegan Moore, huge hand in that. He had 21 points, 4 rebounds. He's averaging 18 points, 6 rebounds, but you guys held him to 5 points, 2 rebounds, arguably kind of your success against them, just game plan against them, and how you were so successful last time around that you're hoping to repeat this weekend.
Yeah, we just got off to a tremendous start here. It was one of our best, or one of the highest tested pre-games that we've had. As far as our force plates, our guys were really locked in, and their legs were really underneath them, and we got off to a great start. As far as him, I think he was a little banged up, and you got to give Jacoby credit. He did a great job against him, and then he just got off to a bad start and didn't really ever get on track, which is what you hope you can do usually against great players. But they're playing well right now. He's obviously playing well, and kids are no different than adults, or young guys are no different than old guys or ladies or whoever. He remembered that he didn't play well here, and you always want to do better, no doubt. So I'm sure he'll be ready to play, and we need to be ready to play as much as we were last time.
So far earlier this season, once you guys seem like maybe have gotten a game or 2 under your belt, starting to get that good feelings going, you haven't been able to carry that success on and kind of come up with a run of games where you stack together wins. What do you think needs to be different this time around, so instead of it being a 1 or 2 game winning streak, it turns into 3, 4?
I don't think that's really anything to us. I think that's to the conference. It's not easy to go off and win 4 games in a row, because that means you got to win some of those on the road. We all know how hard it's been to win on this, to win in the road. Think about it. If we win 4 in a row, we're going to finish 3rd or 4th in the conference, and right now we're at the bottom. So I think that just tells you as much as you need to know about this league. Trying to win 4 games in a row has been difficult for anyone this year, except for Liberty, and obviously Western Kentucky's on a really good streak. I think Sam Houston's on a good streak right now. So it has a lot to do with how you're playing for sure, but also sometimes it has a lot to do with how the schedule falls. And unfortunately for us, in that moment where we could have ran off 4 or 5 in a row, that's when we lost those home games. You got to take advantage of your home games. And so we've won. We're 3-2 in our last 5, and I think we're playing better basketball, and we just need to kind of continue to do that and not worry really too much about how many in a row. We just need to keep playing well, because I just told our guys, and I feel this way, but if you just keep playing good basketball day in and day out, the victories and all that stuff's gonna take care of itself.
Kobe's been playing great basketball, especially as of late. What do you think the next step is for him to become an even better player than he's already shown this season?
Yeah, biggest thing with Kobe, is same things that we talk to him about all the time. He just needs to put on 10 or 15 pounds. you know, if he can get 15 pounds heavier, he's going to be a problem in this conference, and it's just something that he knows, and we've visited and discussed, you know, numerous times. You know, and he's got to continue to improve his shooting. I think everybody knows that. You know, he's really getting better around the rim and slashing and finishing. You know, some of those dunks that he's gotten are good, but can you imagine with 15 more pounds what that's going to look like? And then just continuing to improve on his three-point shot. You know, he's getting some good looks right now. People are giving him some good looks, and as a player, you know, you got to get to that point where you make people pay for not guarding you.
Coach, WKU coming off a big win against Liberty, 21 points. They also shot 50% from the field and then 47 from beyond the arc. Just how do you guys plan on stopping them?
Yeah, I was on texting with Coach Plona last night, you know, congratulating him, and you know, he and I have talked a lot this year because I think we've both kind of gone through some similar times where we've both not played well and hadn't won, and you know, he's at a place where, you know, they love basketball and the people there want to win, and I'm sure he's heard a lot just like I have. So we've talked a bunch and just kind of helped each other out throughout the season. You know, what he said to me last night was basically that game on Saturday was a lot like their game when they beat us at their place last year. If you'll remember, we were playing pretty well and they just beat us like no other. And, you know, I think sometimes throughout the season you have games like that where just everything goes right for you. You know, maybe not everything goes right for your opponent, and then you just take advantage of it. And we kind of did that to them here this year. So, yeah, I mean, we got to just keep playing the way we're playing right now. I think we're guarding at a pretty high level. We've obviously started to rebound the ball better. You know, it was interesting, Saturday night at halftime, you know, we were ahead on the boards like 24 to, I can't remember, it was like 24 to 16 at half. I think we were up 8 or 10 rebounds at halftime. But the interesting thing, out of our 24, 16 of those came from our guards. And so that was really good to see, and you know, and we need that. We need our guards to continue to rebound the ball.
Coach, just how good was it to feel to finally get over the hump in one of these close, tight ball games? It seems like a lot of this year it's been so close, but in the end, it just hasn't gone your way. But just how's it feeling like, you know, not coming off this win?
Yeah, timely for sure. You know, needed. You know, felt good. You know, Jamel, I know, probably feels better than any of us, you know, making that shot like he did and giving us that 4-point advantage with 12 seconds to go makes you feel a lot more comfortable. You know, we definitely got to go down there and get a stop, which we did, and then the ball went out on them. But, you know, he made a big shot at Jacksonville that took that lead from 8 to 11. You know, he's made some this year for us for sure, but, you know, it's always easy to remember the ones that come like at the very bitter end, right? And so, you know, in order to do that, you know, we just got to keep hanging in there and keep believing in what we're running, and you know, and that the tide is going to turn, and hopefully that's some results of what's going to happen, you know, from here on out, I hope.
Turning to Middle Tennessee, they held you to the second lowest scoring game this season, second lowest shooting percentage from the field and from the three-point line. Just how do you get your offense going, specifically going up against the Blue Raiders defense?
Yeah, not to blow off your question, those are always so hard to answer because as a coach, you just only worry about your first game. I mean, I won't even look at Middle Tennessee until Friday morning or Thursday night. Probably knowing me, it'll be Thursday night after our game, I'll start watching them. So, yeah, I just know that particular game that I can remember in my mind, I thought we had a hard time with that 1-3-1. It was really long and athletic, and we didn't attack. And we had worked on it, which was disappointing because we had worked on it the day prior for about 10 minutes because I thought they might run it against us. And we just didn't attack it very well. And so he was a smart coach, good coach. He kept, you know, stayed in it. Most of the time, coaches will stay in zones or presses or traps until you show them that you can do something about it. We didn't. They did a good job in that. And then I just thought their team in particular was really tough that night. I thought they guarded. You know, I just hadn't kept up with them enough to know if they've done that the rest of the season. But I know on that particular night, I thought they were really good.
What?
Go ahead.
Let's say Western Kentucky, 10-4 at home this season. What makes it such a tough place for teams to go and play?
It's a basketball place, just like it is here. Just tremendous tradition, you know, place, you know, where they've had teams that have gone to the Final Fours and Sweet 16s back in the day like we have. You know, there's just a lot of standing tradition there. The crowds are always real good like they are here. Not as good, but good. And so, you know, it's just always a tough trip. You know, it's a good basketball venue and good place to play. You know, this will be my third trip there, and you know, we haven't played very well there either spot. The first year, Coach Lutz beat us pretty good there after we had beaten them here, and then last year, you know, they beat us pretty good there. So I'm excited, looking forward to the challenge. You know, as a coach, you know, you remember the 2 trips and that we didn't win there, so want to try to get back and try to find a way to get one there. And you know, and we have played pretty well at Middle. You know, we're 1-1 there in my 2 years, and you know, had a really good chance to be 2-0. So you know, it's just, look, it's fun. It's this time of the year where you're playing for something. You know, unfortunately, we're not playing for a conference championship right now, but we're playing for an opportunity to get into the tournament, and who knows what will happen once everyone gets there in Huntsville.
Coach, I was against UTEP. One of the difference makers was the rebounding. I believe WKU is averaging around like 39 rebounds per game. You guys are not too far away with 37 per game. Just how critical is it going to be for you guys to match their intensity on the glass?
Yeah, I was looking at the stats last night when I was watching some film, and yeah, they're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in our league. You know, but it's interesting because I think I said this on one of my pressers earlier, but man, there's such statistically there's so many good rebounding teams in this conference. I mean, if you look at it, God, you know, there's, I think, Sam Houston, and I can't remember who the other one was, but I mean, they're like top 2 in the country or top 5 in the country in offensive rebounding, and Western Kentucky's right there with them. So, you know, going into it, it's obviously a challenge, but to be able to have that information that you can just give to your team and be like, hey, look, this is what it is. These guys rebound at a high level. We gotta do something about it. You know, we gotta block out, and so you start really preaching that all week long and trying to drive that home and making that an emphasis. It will be for sure. Rebounds got to be an emphasis in that game, just like coming into this game against UTEP it was, and taking care of the ball. And I think we only had it was one of the lowest totals I've ever had in my coaching career. I think it was 2 turnovers maybe in the game. I don't even know how you can play a college basketball game with only having 2 turnovers. I mean, it was just an amazing job by our team.
I just want to talk about Mims a little bit. He only had 6 points against UTEP, but with just 4 games left, just what do you want to see from him in this last stretch?
Yeah, just, I mean, you know, we all have those days. We all have those nights. I mean, I thought the play he made right there at the end of half when he jumped over the top of that guy and dunked that back was a really big spark. And, you know, and he does a lot of really good things for us, you know, just maybe not necessarily his night. But, you know, that's the exciting part about having a team that, you know, guys are ready. You know, I mean, Augustine stepped in and, you know, played arguably his best game as a collegiate. You know, he's a freshman that's just figuring things out, that he's learning day by day. You know, you can just see him processing in practice. Things are really starting to slow down for him. And he's a talented kid. We all know he's got a chance to be real good. You know, I think I said this the other night after the game, but you know, a lot of times we just want things to happen faster than maybe sometimes they normally can. And I think, you know, he's just starting to come on, and you know, hopefully it's at the right time. But he made some really big plays in a big game on Saturday. You know, big block down there, and you know, big offensive rebound, put back dunk over the top of somebody. You know, he caught a huge lob, and then the left-handed jump hook in the lane. You know, I'm just sitting there looking and thinking to myself, like, once he really learns how to play and gets physical and strong, you know, how nice it's going to be to have somebody to throw the ball inside to, and you know, him to be able to catch it in there and make a move like that. That's pretty big time. So, you know, hopefully he can continue to come. I just had a really good gut feeling that, you know, having him in the game the other night late was just the right thing to do, and you know, it worked out for us. He made a couple of plays that helped us win.
The fans have been great all season long, especially on Saturday. It was a tremendous crowd. Just how much have the fans meant to you and the team this season?
Well, it's just, you know, it's arguably one of the reasons that I took the job. You know, the other thing about our fans, which I love more than anything, is the fact that, you know, over the years, you know, I'm sure the home record here has been 13-2 or 15-1 or 14-3, just like my home records have been other places. And so, you know, for us not to be, you know, I think 9-5 or whatever we are at home, for them to continue to come out and to, you know, support our team, that just says a lot. and that means a lot to me, you know, because what it makes you do is just want you to continue to work, continue to get better, to continue to build, so that you put something out there for them, so that we can hopefully pop off next year and be 15-0 here. But no, I mean, the fans have been amazing, and you know, I think they had a lot to do with that win for sure on Saturday night.
Sorry, I just have to ask, and you can feel
Well, you,
free
I mean,
to not.
you've asked a lot of questions today, but I mean, I know you weren't here Saturday, so, you know, when you're not here, you know, you got a lot of questions to ask.
Hey,
so
I was watching.
I'm okay with
I
that,
was
babe.
watching the
I know you
presser
were.
from
I know
the
you were.
station.
I know you were.
Okay, sorry. Just regarding obviously Golding, have you tried to reach out? Are you shocked that you guys have not communicated? I mean,
I'm a little surprised that we haven't communicated, but you know, I'm not trying to like say that it's some part, you know, one party or the other. I just don't feel like in this situation, in this instance, that it's my place to reach out. So that's just all I really want to say about it. I think, you know, you would have to ask him his opinion on everything. But for me, you know, I just know what happened. I know what went down. I know our friendship over the years. I think everybody watched the video and everybody saw my facial reaction to everything. So,
did you guys ever have some sort of like heated exchange like this before? Is this the
I
first?
mean, not ever anything after a game. I mean, you know, it's competition. I mean, there's been times during the years where, you know, I'm saying something to an official and he might bark down there at me, or I bark at him. That's just part of, when the game's over, we hug, we shake hands, and, you know, we talk about other stuff or our families, or, you know, listen, I mean, we're good friends, and, you know, I don't know if anybody in here has ever had any type of situation with a family member, but, you know, even a family member, my brother even, I mean, you know, you go a couple of days without talking, and at some point somebody calls and everything's going to be fine. You know, I just feel it's probably that situation in that scenario. I mean, there's a lot at stake in a game like that, and you know, a lot of fans. I mean, you know, we know what people are like at UTEP. We know how the people are over here. I mean, everybody wants to win that game, and you know, I'm sure he felt like they had an opportunity to win the other night, and I felt like we had an opportunity to win at their place. You know, I was disappointed. I was mad, you know, but I felt like when the game was over that, you know, I gave him the respect that he deserved. You know, his team played really hard. I complimented him on the fact that his team was resilient and they didn't give in, and they fought, and they deserved to beat us, you know, even though I felt like we had our opportunities. So I just think that's the way you're supposed to handle things.
You know, Conference USA and how jam-packed things are. Why do you think that the schools here in this conference are so tightly packed together, and why the talent level is so, you know, just tight in the standings? You guys are, what, 2 games out of 3rd place, I think it is right now?
Yeah, well, I think it's because it's where you're at right now. I think if you just opened up, I was going to say open up the newspaper, that's not possible anymore. I mean, I just think if you were to just sit down on ESPN right now and you looked at every league in the country, I mean, I would guess 3/4 of the leagues are going to be exactly the way this one is. The reason that you feel the way you feel is because it's the one that you know, you cover. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if you were in the Big 12 right now, you'd be sitting there going, dang, you know. I mean, Texas Tech and Arizona are neck and neck, or, you know, Iowa State, you know, I mean, I just, you know, if you looked at the SEC, I mean, I haven't looked at any standings, but my gosh, I mean, you're looking at teams. I thought about this the other day. You know, it's not going to happen in our league, but in those kind of leagues, I mean, a team that's 8-10 or 8-12 in a conference, they're going to make the NCAA tournament, right? And so it's not going to happen in our conference, but that just tells you the parity, I think. And I just believe this, man. Like, moving forward in college basketball, it's what you're going to see, because you look at the Power Fives and how much money they have to buy players, and then you start to look down at the trickle-down effect. And then it's just going to be the rest of us, and we're all going to try to piece this together and figure it out. But to me, and all that matters, but to me what matters more than anything is the difference in a team like Liberty and the rest of us, where they brought back about 6 players. And, you know, you look at my team, I brought back 2. And so, you know, to me that's what it's about, you know. And I use this all the time, and I know everybody gets tired of hearing it, but my last year at Sam Houston, my team had 6 players on there that had been there the year before, and all those guys had played 2, 3, 4 years for me. And so, again, I'm not making excuses because I'm one more than anyone that I have to figure out like that moving forward. Like, how do you take 11 guys and you get them to a point where I've probably gotten, or we have probably gotten these guys in the last 5 games? How do you do that, you know,
January, yeah.
in November,
Yeah.
October, November, you know? And I know the answer to that. It's not something I'm going to get up here and talk about, but I think I know the answer to that. And the answer is, it's you know, you have to get people, that have all the same things that you're looking for as a coach and what's important to you. Because if you have all of those early, then you don't have to teach those as much, and a lot of those things are super hard to learn, right?
Mhm.
So it's really going to be hard for me to teach you what it means every day to come in here and work as hard as you can and dive on the floor for a loose ball and take a charge, and that it's important that you have to block out and you have to rebound, right? And if you've been at your last school where your coach didn't worry about that and it wasn't so important, or your last coach, all he wanted you to do was score 20, or your last coach that you played for, you know, he just, maybe he was on the last year of his contract and he just kind of, I don't want to say rolled out the ball, but you know, there's just a lot of moving pieces and parts in there. And I think what makes it special is when you can find all those guys that have done a lot of these things that you're talking about doing. And so from day one, when you hit that ground running, and it's just a whole lot simpler. And look, if we all had the answer to that, and we all could do that and bottle that up, I mean, it just would be what it is.
And I guess just building off of that, a lot of places around the country you see guys that are going to sit out the rest of the season type thing. How do you try and keep your team together and focused on the task at hand when people across the country are like, oh, where am I going to go next year, already kind of thinking about the future, as opposed to, hey, we still got 4 more games left in the regular season to try and go make the tournament?
Well, I think that's what culture you build. I mean, if you're building a culture, you know, and you're trying to put the right young men in your culture where, you know, the things that are important are your team, your university, your community, you know, your family, and you're playing for those things, you know, we try to talk to them about playing for the name on the front, not the name on the back. The name on the back, that always takes care of itself, right? But you got to do what's important for the name on the front. And I think if we just continue to talk and preach and do those things, and hopefully everybody collectively comes together as a group, and you do that. And you really got to control what you can control. Some of that stuff you can't control. A lot of these coaches can't control that because these young men, unfortunately, have so many people in their ears, and they got them pulling in a lot of different directions, you know. And I don't know if you see that as much as you do in football. I know in football it's very prevalent, right, with the bowl games, late in the year stuff.
Yeah.
You know, whereas men's basketball, I don't think you see that quite as much. Now, I mean, our kids, you know, thinking about something else already, you know, probably. I mean, our kids probably on some kind of lists already, saying they're going to do this or that, probably. But those are things that we don't think about. Those are things that we don't try to worry about, because all we want to worry about is, again, the task at hand and our team. You know, to me today, the most important thing is that we get some film in us, we get out there, we get a really good practice, and that we just really start to focus on Western Kentucky, because that's the most important game of the year. You know, I mean, if we win that game on Thursday night, we're going to be sitting in a good position. Nick, you're good?
Yeah, I'm good. I got something. Just with the amount of new players, whether it's 11 or 13 or how many ever there are a lot of new players. The last season and your first season as well. It seems like that's just kind of how it is now, especially, you know, with you guys being mid-major and trying to compete. I guess for you, I guess what are some of the challenges, but maybe not trying to, we're trying to get guys to maybe not just buy into a culture, but also kind of try to kind of just be a team and kind of just try to play for a school, play for passion, play for fans, you know, and things like that. What's kind of maybe something that you try to do here, or maybe at Sam Houston, or just something that you try to do with yours to try and do that with all your players?
I mean, Nick, it is the hardest thing. I mean, it just is. And I think the hardest thing about it is we're all human, right? And this is not me sitting up here and pointing fingers at any particular person, guy, player, or anything, because we're all different. And the hard part is that change is hard, right? And if you've been at a school for 3 years and you have never done things the way I want them done, it's just going to be hard for me to get you in here and really get you on board with what needs to happen in 2-3 months, right? And I think what you see right now is our team's playing better. Our team's starting to figure some things out that we've been really trying to get them to do all year long. Now, the answer to that is also very hard, and the answer to that is in a 14-day period, 2-week period, you got to get to try to know that person well enough that you know when they get here from day one that they're already maybe believe they've been playing for a coach who has those same mindsets that I do, or you know, they were raised the way, you know, the attributes that we're looking for. That's the hard part, trying to figure that out. And again, a 14-day window of the portal. That's tough, right? And then the hard part is, you know, you go get high school guys and you build them up and you get them really good, and then maybe they leave and they move on. And so, you know, back in the day, everybody recruited high school guys because you kept them in your programs for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. And at a 2 or 3, 4 year period, you look up and you're pretty good. You got good teams. So that's all changed, and we all just got to figure out, you know, we just got to figure it out. We got to figure out how it works. You know, the thing that I think that we've done here and that I will continue to do is just be consistent with our culture, because we feel like our culture is the right thing. It's trying to get these young men to be as good as they can be on and off the court, right? Because it's important. When they leave here, do I want to win? Absolutely. But I also want them to leave here and win in life. I want them to be able to go, you know, again, this sounds silly, but man, until you've been married and you've had kids, you got no idea how hard it is. You know, it's hard. You know, I mean, I'm sitting up here and I'm doing these pressers and I'm feeling sorry for myself because I've lost 2 or 3 games in a row, or I lose in overtime at UTEP or Liberty on the buzzer. And I got a daughter who misplayed a fly ball in left field, and, you know, she thinks it's the end of the world, you know. Or I got a son who was up 4-0 in a tiebreaker, and he loses 6-4 or 8-4, and, you know, he thinks that it's the end of the world. So, you know, life is hard. You know, it's hard. You gotta go out. You gotta get a job. You gotta keep that job every day. And some of us would be blessed that we love our job. There's a lot of people out there that don't love what they do. And so, you know, then you got to get up every day and you got to go to work because you got to make money, and you got to make money in order to pay your bills and all those things. So it's true. It's just life. And we're trying to teach these guys life experiences. And sometimes, you know, it shows. It shows on the floor. If you're figuring some things out, I guarantee you, when you figure some things out on the floor, I promise you, you're probably figuring out some things in life, which means you're probably going to class. You're probably doing pretty well in your studies. You're probably making really good decisions off the court. Good question.
Good.
Anybody else?